How would you like to be transported to fantastical lands with talking mythical creatures and real animals and where you can meet main characters just like you and me? Well, now you can with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, and Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. All these novels embody the elements of fantasy. I will now explain what the books are about, along with some excerpts, why I like them, and my recommendations. The first book I will discuss is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. The first book in the Harry Potter series, a young boy named Harry Potter, while living with his cruel aunt, uncle, and cousin, after the deaths of his parents, Lily and James Potter, by the evil Lord Voldemort, aka He Who Must Not Be Named, on Halloween night, discovers that he is a wizard after receiving a series of letters from some owls from the magical Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I will now read an excerpt from one of the letters that Harry receives from the owls. Harry stretched out his hand at last to take the yellowish envelope, addressed in emerald green to Mr. H. Potter, the floor, hut on the rock, the sea. He pulled out the letter and read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. Order of Merlin. First Class. Grand Sorcerer. Chief Warlock. Supreme Mugwump. International Confederation of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Surprising, huh? Join Harry on his adventures by reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I enjoyed this book because in the plot, Harry Potter starts out living in an unhappy home but is then whisked away to the magical Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where he meets new characters such as Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Together, they travel to fantastical lands such as the Forbidden Forest and use their magic in battle. I will now recite a spell. Petrificus Totalis! Can you guess what that spell does to you? Then read the book to find out. I would recommend this book for anyone who enjoys sorcery, fantastical lands, and who have experienced feelings of alienation and discrimination like Harry. The second book I will discuss is The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. The second book in the Narnia series, 4 children, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy Vivenzi, evacuate their home in the war-torn United Kingdom and stay at the home of an elderly professor who happens to be their uncle and who also happens to have an enchanted wardrobe in his house. I will now read an excerpt in which Lucy, the youngest, discovers what is inside the wardrobe. Looking into the inside, she saw several coats hanging up, mostly long fur coats. There was nothing Lucy liked so much as the smell and feel of fur. She immediately stepped into the wardrobe and got in among the coats and rubbed her face against them, leaving the door open, of course, because she knew that it is very foolish to shut oneself into any wardrobe. Soon turned further in and found that there was a second row of coats hanging up behind the first one. It was almost quite dark in there, and she kept her arms stretched out in front of her so as not to bump her face into the back of the wardrobe. She took a step further in, then 2 or 3 steps, always expecting to feel woodwork against the tips of her fingers, but she could not feel it. This must be a simply enormous wardrobe, thought Lucy, going still further in and pushing the soft folds of the coats aside to make room for her. Then she noticed that there was something crunching under her feet. I wonder, is that more mothballs? She thought, stooping down to feel it with her hand. But instead of feeling the hard, smooth wood of the floor of the wardrobe, she felt something soft and powdery and extremely cold. "This is very queer," she said, and went on a step or two further. So what did Lucy find? Join her and her siblings in Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I enjoyed this book because in the plot, 4 children are transported from the real world to a fantastical land with talking mythical creatures and real animals, and where they band together to stop the wicked white witch to save their king from despair. I also enjoyed this book because of the mythological creatures such as the unicorns, but most of all, Aslan, the great lion and ruler of Narnia, who rules fairly and justly. In other words, I like to call Aslan the god of Narnia. I would recommend this book for anyone who likes fantastical creatures and places. The last book I will discuss is Artemis Fowl by Ian Culver. The first book in the Artemis Fowl series, a young boy, Artemis Fowl, must find some gold that can cure his mother Angeline's mental instability. I will now read an excerpt after Artemis decodes the Book of the People, a fairy book written in a very holy language called Gnomish. Once the book was translated, Artemis could begin planning in earnest. He already knew what the ultimate goal was. Now he could figure out how to achieve it. Gold, of course, was the objective, the acquisition of gold. It seemed that the people were almost as fond of the precious metal as humans. Each fairy had its own cachet, but not for much longer if Artemis had his way. There would be at least one of the fairy folk wandering around with empty pockets by the time he'd finished. After 18 solid hours of sleep and a light continental breakfast, Artemis climbed to the study that he had inherited from his father. It was a traditionally enough room, dark oak and floor-to-ceiling shelving, but Artemis had jammed it with the latest computer technology. A series of network almanacs whirred from various corners of the room. One was running CNN's website through a data projector, throwing oversized current affairs images against the back wall. Butler was there already, wiring up the hard drives. "Shut them all down, except the book. I need quiet for this." The manservant started. The CNN site had been running for almost a year. Artemis was convinced that news of his father's rescue would come from there. Shutting it down meant that he was finally letting go. "All of them?" Artemis glanced at the back wall for a moment. "Yes," he said finally. "All of them." Butler took the liberty of patting his employer gently on the shoulder, just once, before returning to work. Artemis cracked his knuckles. Time to do what he did best: plot dastardly acts. So what are those dastardly acts? Find out in Artemis Fowl. I enjoyed this book because in the plot, Artemis is finding what he's looking for, and to get what he wants, he will use fairy magic. I also enjoyed this book because Artemis Fowl, although he's 12 years old, is an evil criminal mastermind who uses his wits and intelligence in any situation. He reminds me of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, but except Sherlock Holmes is a good guy who uses his wits and intelligence in any situation. In other words, I like to call Artemis Fowl the Sherlock Holmes criminal mastermind. I would recommend this book for anyone who enjoys fantasies, science fiction, and mysteries. Thank you for listening to my book talk. I hope you'll be on the lookout for more book talk soon. Until then, goodbye!